What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here for a SmackDown review. Here to run down everything that happened tonight. Tonight's SmackDown was heavily hyped with The Rock calling it Memphis is home away from home. The FedEx Forum was jacked tonight for the third straight Rock appearance, and this was advertised ahead of time, and they sold out in no time when they heard The Rock was coming on. And once again, he's a difference maker for SmackDown. Let's get into tonight's action. The only question is where would they go from here now after the Cody slap? I had it in my mind if they wanted to get real personal, they could have Cody Rhodes say to The Rock, at least my dad would be a Hall of Famer in spite of me existing. That might be too close to home. That might have been too big of a dig, so I don't think they'd use that. That would be a cerebral burn to The Rock, but maybe it'd be too disrespectful. But it's just something I thought for whatever reason. If Cody wants to get real personal, say something like that. Lots of stuff to unpack tonight, so always just chill out for the next 20 to 25 minutes, grab a drink, let's go over this stuff together, the full results, whether you watch the show or not, let's discuss what happened. Then, as always, I'll sprinkle some analysis along with whatever transpired. Starting to feel a little bit more like Wrestlemania season with some strong build tonight. So yeah, if you would hit like and subscribe on this channel, if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate that. I'm trying to grow it, so that's always appreciated. Corey Graves, who has settled into his role, I feel, as a play-by-play man, is doing a nice job. He had Bad News Barrett as the color analyst for tonight, as we have that regular SmackDown duo for the past month and a half. For a month now, we've had these tandems. We open up the SmackDown in Memphis, Tennessee at the FedEx Forum, March 15th, 2024. We open things up with The Rock. Nice to hear his music at the start of a wrestling show again. He's got the rendition of his theme all a little slower in the middle for its chorus, natural like a heel usually would. I like it. Rock says he usually scorches every city, but this time it's different. This is The Rock's first city he wrestled in, so finally The Rock has come back home. The Rock has a song to sing. That's why the microphone's set up that way. That's why there's a place to sit. In the home of the blues and Elvis Presley, The Rock has a song to sing about Cody and Rollins. Rock says Cody's a mama's boy pretty much, as is Rock. And he says if there's any mama boys out there in the crowd, and his people doing the theme, Memphis Born, one of them, says hell yeah to being a mama's boy. Rock burns Seth and talks about how his wife's more popular. Cody being a mistake, the Cody crybabies, and he said there's some lines you don't cross. And you can all kiss the ass of the final boss. And he said that so nice that he had to do it twice. Fans all over The Rock here, but like I said, Hollywood Rock, he played to the crowd as a heel while acting like a face. Even back in the day in 2003 with Hollywood Rock, he'd always go, Sacramento, baby! Stuff like that. So when you're being a heel, I don't know, these versions of The Rock are too entertaining to be heelish. The fans are still going to cheer for you because he still plays to the crowd a bit. That's why I always debated people whether Hollywood Rock was a great heel or not. He was a great character, entertaining as fuck, one of the best characters, sure. But as a heel is supposed to get you to hate them. These versions of The Rock, it's kind of hard to do that. But he's trying, The Rock is. He's going after his mom. He's talking about the blood being on his belt. He's talking about last week how he's the boss and how he owns them, and that's what a heel boss would do, right? So he's trying to be a heel in parts, but he's just too entertaining, and he's The Rock, for God's sakes. He's The Rock. This is wrestling. This is 20 years after the Attitude Era. Of course, he's going to get cheered. Next, we have a Rock acknowledge the slap. He tells the world to have a look at it, and he makes fun of Cody crying for his mom. And he says, that's what the response was on Raw. You crying about how you can't give your belt to your dad and now you have to do it to your mom. And he's like, oh, crying. And he did Cody's little crying voice. Rock mocked him and made fun of and told his mom that he won't finish his story. And you're going to know The Rock in ways you never wished you'd know her. I was like, where's The Rock going with this? And that's that the belt she will get will be a brown promo bull belt full of Cody's flesh, blood all over it from Cody. Rock says he's going to give Rhodes' mom that belt sitting front ringside. Rock is going to whisper in your ear with Cody's belt, Michelle, what can I say other than you're welcome? Fans chant Rocky, Rocky, even after that. He's just loving being a villain, I think. If you smell what the final boss is cooking, he says. Rock transitioning his character with a good new nickname over time. He even cut a big promo on social media before the show mentioning the final boss, and he's really honing his craft as he always transitions his character, The Rock, over time. So The Rock, if he comes back in 10 years with something, I know he'd be really old, but if he came back in, say, 10 years, he'd be a different version of him. He wouldn't be this guy, the final boss, as he is now. Opening segment was big, of course. It's always big. Anytime you open the show with The Rock, it's a good start, whether it's the Attitude Era or now. Rocky chants filled Memphis, just Rock cutting a song like Hollywood Rock. This new version is very entertaining because you don't know which direction he's going in. An opening promo should lead to a PLE match or a match later on the show. If it's really good, it will do both. But then there's exceptions like this. Sometimes a rare, unique promo will be cut, and if it features PLE build, as long as there's some PLE build, which there was, and it's entertaining with a larger-than-life star, that's the better, then there's an exception, and this was an exception. Another great segment by The Rock, a good start to the show. It doesn't always have to add to a match later in the night, but if it does so, it's usually great, unless it's a standoff segment like these. Because I could ask you in 10 to 20 years, what will you remember this promo? And chances are you might. You might remember it wasn't anything legendary, but you might remember the fact that The Rock sang in this way. But will you remember it 10 to 20 years from now if they were to build a match later in the night for Bayley and Dakota Kai during the segment, even though that makes no sense? But I'm just talking about how promos from the beginning of the show don't always need to build to a match later in their show. It's great if it does, but if not, there's exceptions. There's exceptions like this because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The Rock coming back, doing a song. These are moments we're going to wish we had a few months from now. We're going to say, remember that The Rock was on and he was singing? That was great. And so when they happened, that's the exception. And I thought the opening segment did well overall. It definitely was captivating. Once you take in a show with a smile on your face, well, I was doing notes while I took it in, so I had a smile on my face while I was writing notes for this review, which I love to do, by the way. I don't have to do this, but I want to. So yeah, I definitely want to give my opinion, and I think that's a strong start to the show. He got a full quarter of the show. There's 4 quarters, right? He got pretty much the first half hour. That's the 1/4 of the show, just for that. A 25-minute promo. Well, 20-minute promo with 5 minutes of entrance music and all that. So to open up the show in the ring, we had a WrestleMania 40 tag team qualifying match. The LWO, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro versus Legado del Fantasma, LDF, Angel Garza, and Humberto Carrillo. LDF and the LWO show great familiarity in the ring. Angel and Humberto with tandem offense. Humberto suicide dives to the LWO as they start rolling, take up position to the outside. Corey Graves to the commercial spot. Who will advance? But then they realize, we're not ready yet to go to the commercial, so they keep talking. A lot of double team moves in the match. Now Graves, after a few more moves, does his commercial line again of who will advance. This time they're ready for a commercial. Back from the break, both teams still giving a good performance in there. Del Toro double team with a superplex by LDF into a double military press off the top, which was impressive, but Wilde helped him kick out, giving the LWO some hopes. An impressive Spanish fly inside and outside by Cruz del Toro, looking for Wilde to get the hot tag, and when he does, he comes out unhinged with Legado del Fantasma with drop kicks, then a neckbreaker taking out Humberto. A super kick by Wilde, then a tornado DDT by Humberto breaks up the pinfall attempt over Angel by the LWO. Del Toro thrown in by Humberto into a DDT, but Humberto breaks up the pinfall attempt over Angel. Del Toro thrown by Humberto into the barricade, almost through it but with brute force. LDF victory at the 9-minute mark. Angel and Humberto advance to the finals of the tournament. The winner of the next tournament match will be put in the WrestleMania Tag Team Ladder match for the titles. They're the biggest names, so it was likely victory for the heels here. I rated the match 2.5 stars. The match was pretty good, just over 9 minutes. It was competent and fun, and like I say, these two teams know each other well, so they were able to do that. They were able to pull it off. LA Knight comes out for a rare promo, as Barrett says. He hasn't come around often lately with promos. He's still over as all hell, so that just shows you how good LA Knight is. LA Knight makes it official for WrestleMania with AJ Styles. But he says AJ, when he wants him to come attack him, he doesn't. He'll fly all the way to Australia, but he won't come and attack him when he's here. And then AJ comes with a steel chair from behind. How creative. I mean, come on. You can get more creative than the standard. He comes and hits him with a chair and goes, I accept. You can get more creative. Like, why couldn't this have been backstage in the parking lot? Why couldn't it have been a lead pipe instead of in the entranceway with a chair. I'm not trying to say Colonel Mustard with a wrench in the library. I'm just trying to say you can get a little bit more creative than that. But at the same time, I like that they finally solidified the match between the two for WrestleMania. I thought that was good that we finally got the announcement of that. It looks like a match to be reckoned with it's a match of the night contender for whatever night it goes on. I think they should pack WrestleMania night 1 since night 2 is going to get 2 world title matches. And one of the women's world title matches will probably be on night 2 as well. Unless they decide to go 2 women's world title matches on night 1, then 2 world title men's matches night 2. That might be actually more fair. They might do it that way. I love this whole WrestleMania 2-night thing. I don't know about everybody else, but I just think you can book so many matches this way, and it doesn't have to be long this way. You can look forward to 2 nights rather than 1. People get breaks. People have more to look forward to. 1 night can play into night 2, like the rules with the tag match. There's so many reasons night 2 they can make more money. There's so many reasons night 1 and 2 is such a great idea for WrestleMania, and these are one of them. So it's good that AJ and LA Knight have solidified their match. Logan Paul complains to SmackDown GM Nick Aldis backstage and asks what the plan is for Paul at Mania. He said his business partner got RKO'd on the Prime logo and says that with the drink spilled on him. Logan Paul says, how does he extract an apology from Randy Orton, the Viper? And you need to make the GM do that because it's his job. But how can he do his job if you can't even find him a Mania opponent? So that leaves an open-ended question there. I like that they planted seeds there rather than just giving him an opponent on the spot because they built to later in the night. That would be the easy thing to do, of course, but that would look silly booking 2 Mania matches in back-to-back segments. So they held off on booking that match just then. They had booked it later in the night. The AJ Knight promo just finally happened, so it would have looked foolish, as said, to have him back-to-back segments. It does build motive for all this to come at Paul with triple threat, but we'll see where they're going from here. I wrote in my notes. They mentioned that Cleveland will host SummerSlam. Heyman gets shocked backstage by the interviewer. That was good for comedy. I think it's Kayla Braxton. I'm not sure. But I don't want to mess up her name, so I just call her the interviewer. I interrupted Paul Heyman. My apologies for not knowing the name. Jimmy, I was concentrating on Paulie and his reaction. I wasn't concentrating on her. Jimmy Uso challenge is accepted emphatically by a good promo from Jimmy. Jimmy hasn't had many good promos lately, so this was a really good, intense promo. This makes that they brought up their childhood, and he's the older brother. This makes the fact that they didn't add the Paul match before this even better, or else it would have been WrestleMania match made AJ and LA Knight, WrestleMania match made with Logan Paul, WrestleMania match made with Jimmy and Jay, and back-to-back-to-back segments. So thank God somebody looked over the final draft of this episode and said, no, we're not going to have Nick Aldis make the Logan Paul match right then, because that would be 3 matches made in under 5 minutes. So, yeah, that's a good thing they held off from announcing Logan Paul's match to later in the night. Not too much later in the night, but later in the night all the same, or else we would have had 3 matches in 5 minutes for WrestleMania. That's not really good. Grayson Waller with Austin Theory took on Randy Orton. This is just the second match of the night, but we're at the top of the second hour when this got going. And this night saw 5 matches, so just to start the second match at the top of the hour shows how long the Rock segment went, and not complaining, and shows all the other stuff that happened, the LA Knight promo and so on. Just before they are out to tie up, the U.S. champion Logan Paul shows up before Orton and Waller were about to get it on, and he looks like he's headed for commentary as we go to a commercial break. He shakes Austin Theory's hand at ringside. Waller with a shot to the back of Orton, a running back lariat, catching Orton off guard, and then a modified snake eyes by the man with the voices in his head. Orton countered on the 10th punch up high by Waller, who sends Orton onto the floor. Orton then is scouted with a side suplex attempt on the table, and Waller sent by the barricade. Theory then chased off, and Logan Paul got in Orton's face, so Waller was able to drive Orton headfirst into the table. That's what takes us to our first break in the action. It's a 3-on-1 pretty much, so Orton really got blindsided there. Vintage Orton with an RKO to Waller at the late 7-minute mark. Orton gets another big win, staring at Logan Paul, of course, with the win and the momentum, maybe getting him a Mania match. The beating down, then Theory after the match beating down on the Viper. Theory holds Orton while Logan Paul talks trash to him face to face and even kissed him on the forehead, if I'm not mistaken. Just before that, he went for a shot. Kevin Owens' music hits and he runs down and saves Orton. Maybe they're looking for a tag match at some point down the road, but not WrestleMania, as we get our WrestleMania match confirmed. 2.25 stars for the Orton Waller match. GM Nick Aldis says, Logan, a couple of things. First, were you able to get that apology? No? Okay. For some comedy. Then he says, I've determined your WrestleMania opponent. So, as thought, he'll defend the U.S. Championship in a triple threat with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. So that's settled. Then they look at what happened in Bayley in recent weeks. We get that long video package again. Dakota Kai sends a message to everyone that Damage Control runs the show, and that's going to be the main event for tonight's SmackDown. Santos Escobar takes on Dragon Lee. It should be a quick match given that there's only 39 minutes left of SmackDown, and we still got a few matches to go. And it was. A bunch of quick moves in this one. A high super kick to the mug as he was doing a handstand on the ropes. Dragon Lee looking for a sit-down powerbomb, but Escobar kicked out. A suicide plancha to begin the match by Dragon Lee. And then he drops his posse on the outside with flying moves. Suicide dive. Dragon Lee launches Berto into Angel on the outside. He comes back in with Santos hitting the Phantom Driver as Dragon Lee was distracted by the Legado del Fantasma on the outside. As expected, it was kept short and close with Santos getting the win a few minutes in. I gave it a 1.5 stars. After the match, Carlito ran in, and I only gave it a 1.5 stars because of the timing. If it was any longer, if it was a few minutes longer, I would have gave it 2 stars at least. After the match, a backstabber to Angel by Carlito. Then Escobar clocks Carlito. Santos drives Carlito into the post. Rey Mysterio, the Hall of Famer and LWO leader, shows up. Graves knew he had to hype this, so it sounded a little contrived, a little fake. I don't want to hang on anything he says, though, because he's so damn good at his job. And he's still making the transition to a play-by-play guy from a color commentator. Mysterio was advertised for this edition of SmackDown, if I'm not mistaken, so that's what made his Rey, the Hall of Famer, oh my god, a little bit contrived. Rey gets on the mic speaking some Espanol. He says, we're like familia ese vato. No, that's just kidding. That's just what Eddie used to say. But Rey did say, we were familia. Rey challenged him one-on-one, and you're thinking Mania, right? I mean, all these Mania matches are being made, but he says next week. Little curveball. That's a big match just to have on SmackDown. Rey says next week he will slap the arrogant smile off his face, which got a big pop. So either that's going to be broken up and delayed till WrestleMania, or Mania will get maybe a tag match between the LWO and Legado del Fantasma, like a 6-man tag or something. Maybe an 8-man tag. We'll see if they can find a partner or whatever. If Carlito, Rey, and LWO. Oh no, that's 8. That's 4 right there. So Legado del Fantasma and somebody else. They can make a 8-man tag, but I doubt they're doing that. I think they're going to save Santos versus Rey for Mania, or it'll be a 6-man tag. We'll have to see. Either way, I'll be there to tell you what's going on no matter what. And here we have our next match. It's WrestleMania 40 tournament qualifier. The winner of this goes to the finals of the tournament next week in the tag match to determine who's the next team in the tag ladder match. For WrestleMania 40. This time it's Pretty Deadly versus New Catch Republic. The winner takes on Legado del Fantasma next week. The winner of that match is in the tournament, or is in the ladder match. Wins the tournament, I should say. As I assume this match gets no entrances. Again, they were in a rush for time. This is a semifinal match, as I just explained. The division isn't terribly deep, but it's still deep enough to have a mini tournament, so you got to respect that. New Catch Republic not only wins this one, but probably next week against Legado del Fantasma, given the likes of Dunn and Bate and what they can do in the ring. Their styles seem good for a ladder match. But again, so does Legado del Fantasma. Tyler Bate runs to both sides of the rings, and Bate launched him across the ring into a standing shooting star press, then an airplane spin by Elton Prince that lasted like 30 seconds long. We all got a bit dizzy as we went to commercial. Pretty Deadly connected with a boot to the face of Bate, a downward bulldog, and Tyler Bate kicked out. A burning hammer by New Catch Republic gets the victory in the end. Really good in-sync match here. I rated it 2.75 stars. They advertise a lot of good moments for SmackDown next week, including a face-to-face between the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. I don't believe the Rock will be on next week. He's not advertised, but that head-to-head should be a big one. And then the Rock will probably be on the 1 or 2 last SmackDowns before Mania, I'm guessing. But I don't think he's on next week. So we got a lot of Rock the last 3 weeks, which we should be happy with. The main event, Bayley versus Dakota Kai. Bayley with a little slick through the legs exit under the apron before we go to commercial through Dakota Kai's legs. Bayley with a flying elbow showing a lot of emotion in the match. She came to the ring smiling like she did when she was a babyface before. But it's not a complete change in her character. She's doing it slowly and surely. It's hard to transition from face to heel back to face. I mean, without being corny. Damage Control helping Dakota Kai every chance they got in this one. Dakota Kai then with a huge kick to the face of Bayley, who's outmatched when it's 4-on-1. A step ahead powerbomb by Bayley, and Io has the title up in the air again symbolically, and she drops the belt and says, "Let's go." Damage Control attack Bayley, so Bayley gets the win by DQ around 8 minutes. This one would have been higher if given the time, but I still gave it 2 stars. Bayley showed a lot of passion and emotion. That does it for the match portion of the show. After the match, Naomi, who felt bad for Bayley last week, came to her protection. I was thinking Bianca Belair would be next, and then the fans chanted EST. A big 6 ladies tag match for Mania, or before Mania, you could think what could take place if Bianca's on board with Naomi, but she didn't seem to be last week because of how Bayley acted when she was in Damage Control. The match ends with the Vision to close the show. They have the Damage Control in control, lifting the title over Naomi, who came out to help, and Bayley, who wins the match by DQ. So Damage Control stood strong to end the show. I rate this show overall a 6 out of 10. I felt it did good job building towards Mania, more so than the other episodes. We got an answer with Jimmy and Jay. We got an answer with Knight and AJ. Great to see some much needed promo time with LA Knight to boot. We got a triple threat decided by all this between Owens, Orton, and Paul. Lots of clarification. More Bayley to Damage Control build in the main event slot for Bayley and Io. We got The Rock for the first quarter and the whole beginning of it, as he was great doing his Rock concerts, but at the same time cutting a serious promo as a heel, calling himself the final boss. Also great to just hear The Rock song kick off SmackDown again, and even the new version of it, which is even better for as a heel. You got to love his ability to adapt and change with the time, as I spoke on earlier. The sold-out FedEx Forum in Memphis was rocking all night because of the opening promo. Some solid wrestling to boot. It's a good wrestling town, is Memphis. It was a lot. We got a lot of tag team tournament matches. Also, Ray returned to build a match with Santos Escobar taking place next week. Well, the first chapter of that probably is taking place next week. So overall, a little bit better than average for this edition of SmackDown. Every match was above 2 stars pretty much. Had the Dragon Lee match gone on longer, it would have been. As always, catch me for Raw Monday nights, SmackDown Friday nights. The Monday Night Wars almost every day or second day on this channel. Pay-per-view reviews every now and again for WCW and WWE, and maybe even ECW in the future. I'll keep doing them, so thanks so much for the feedback and watching them. As those continue to get views and replies, I really appreciate all that, guys. So yeah, The Rock is Cody Rhodes' final boss on the road to WrestleMania 40 in Memphis tonight. So what happens from now on? We get more Mania build, we get more Mania matches, and we hopefully get more captivating shows from Friday Night SmackDown. Monday Night Raw needs to pick up their stocks a little bit, but as far as SmackDown goes, we've been getting some pretty good above-average shows lately, especially with The Rock. We'll see how it does without The Rock next week. I don't think he'll be there, but if he does, that's even better. But I'm not sure he'll be there. But if we do get a face-to-face between Cody and Roman, which should definitely go farther than Roman just saying, "You've got to be an idiot." We've seen that a few different times at the press conference, then in their showdown last week. So we'll see it as it continues to go. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next review for March 15th, 2024 from the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee. SmackDown by Brett Mix, the review on the Mixer Madness channel. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend.